Hi, everybody. Todd Nash, Senate District 29. It's the 19th today. Sine die, the last day of session takes place on the 29th. So we're nearly down to single digits. Most likely we won't run all of next week, but we'll see how that works out. But we are definitely in the final throes of the 83rd legislative session here at the state capitol in Salem. I'll go through a few things here. Some of them you've heard repeatedly, but going to repeat a little bit more. Wolf compensation. So the governor signed Senate Bill 777, and that was a big win for a lot of us. Tons of work went into that. Really gratifying to see that one be signed by the governor. Now the funding portion of it. We don't know exactly what that's going to look like. I had another Senate Bill 985. I don't know if that's going to be the mechanism that gets funded. I don't think so. There's another mechanism out there, and that is in a House Bill 2977. 2977 is a larger bill, encompasses a lot of different things, and it takes transit lodging tax and one 1.25% transient lodging tax. A little small portion of that would go to wolf compensation. There's others that would go to conservation of wildlife, state police for bolstering their poaching program. There's a large body of things that are in that. Some fisheries. At any rate, if you want to look that bill up, you'll see the different components in there. And that bill actually is moving forward. We'll see if it gets over here to the Senate side, makes it through. It's an interesting time down here in the final moments of session. Lumber grading, we've talked about quite a little bit. It's passed out of the Senate, passed out of the House. There was a small clerical error in that bill, and so that was caught over on the House side. They corrected it, but because it's not the exact same language as we passed out of the Senate, it comes back for what is called a concurrence. It doesn't have to go through committee again, just has to come to the floor. Checked on it just moments ago. It was originally earlier in the week scheduled to be on the Senate floor on Friday. Now it's scheduled for Monday. I really want to get that one behind us and get that one moved on out. Always makes me nervous here. Last little bit, and we still have a lot of moving parts here. The bill that was the resolution 33, that was for Susan Roberts. That one went over to the House side, full support. That moves not to the governor's desk, but it goes over to the Secretary of State. That gets signed. That will be a permanent law. Congratulations, Susan, on a well-deserved concurrent resolution and the highest honor that the state Senate can bestow upon you. Congratulations again. T-Bone. So Monday, the T-Bone bill went over to the House side, and it passed out of there. Similarly, where that was a resolution rather than an actual bill, that one it's made its final stage. It goes over to the Secretary of State as well. And the T-Bone will be our state steak. There'll be some sort of unveiling at some point across the mall here. There'll be a square put in the concrete there that We'll identify the T-bone as the state steak, have a little comment down below. And congratulations to the cattle women that worked so hard on that. A number of people that did. That was fun. Um, and, there's been some criticism. Don't you guys have anything better to do down here? We absolutely do. But highlighting beef in a state that produces a lot of cattle and a lot of high quality cattle, I still think was a positive thing for us to do. And there are cattle in every single county in this state, all 36 counties. We don't really have other agricultural products that we can say that with, but we do have cattle everywhere, and it was a great application to be able to highlight that with a state steak. We're the second state in the union to do that. Oklahoma was ahead of us with the ribeye. A lot of people wanted the ribeye, and I kind of started out there. The cattle women talked me into T-bone, and that's where we ended up. The brand fee bill, 1019, that made it on across, went over to the governor's desk, was signed, and so that one is behind us. And we have some better products there now. Maybe it'll work out better for everybody. There's still some things that need to be worked out there. And so the Legislative Research Office here, they're going to be doing some work. They'll report back to us before the first of the year on their findings, comparing other states and what they see there as good programs, bad programs, maybe some other things that we can adopt into the brand program here. And that is paid for by cattlemen that have their brand inspections. And so we want that to run as efficiently as possible and to serve the people well there. So congratulations to everybody that worked on that. The Preg Check bill, that was originally equine dentistry, and Preg Check came to me by way of the Farm Bureau, and I agreed to run that bill. We got quite a lot of pushback on both components, but especially on equine dentistry. And so there were some things to work out there with equine dentistry. Originally had a task force in there. The task force was going to cost over $250,000, and I just said, no, that's ridiculous. So we pulled the fiscal off of that. We took equine dentistry off. It's Preg Check only. That's made it out of Ways and Means, and we should see that coming around, and hopefully we have enough time here that we'll see that that bill come on through. 976 is that bill. There's other bills that are passing out at the same time, and I'm hopeful that that it'll go right alongside of them. County fair funding, the 1% of video lottery that we hope to get for county fairs. I've asked some of the people that have really been involved in that, some of our lobby, Senator McLean, who sat there on revenue and Ways and Means. One of the things with Ways and Means is the co-chairs have a tremendous amount of power, and it's not healthy. For a member of Ways and Means to still be in the dark as to what's being funded, he's really frustrated, and I'm frustrated. That should be a more open process than what it is. It's always been a little corrupt in my mind, and very few people getting to hold the purse strings. That's the case here. I don't know if we're going to get funded or if we're going to get partial funding. A lot of you worked really hard on that. A lot of county commissioners, a lot of individuals. I wish I had news that said it looks really positive at this time. I don't know if it looks positive. My guess is it doesn't, but that's kind of just the pessimistic part of me that doesn't see a whole bunch of people smiling, grinning, and giving elbow bumps and saying fair funding's looking pretty good. So we'll see. I hope I'm reading the tea leaves wrong. The Walla Walla Basin, of course, we got Senate Bill 761 passed out. There was a portion of that to be funded for $2.5 million down there in Ways and Means as well. We don't know. We just don't know. The rodeo bill, um, Senate Bill 771, it's in the same situation there. I just don't know. There was a lot of you advocated for it, did some really good work, and we'll find out here before long. But it's just hanging there. I sound like a broken record, but AgriStress, the AgriStress helpline, same way. We're asking for $2 million. I don't know if it's going to get funded or not. Again, a lot of people did a lot of good work there. We had a lot of good bipartisan support for that, and we'll see if it actually gets funded or not in the end. Last bill I'm going to talk about here today, maybe not the last bill, 3940. And so 3940 is a wildfire funding bill, and they're looking at several different mechanisms to fund wildfire. And in particular, there's a portion of that Eastern Oregon has been paying to the tune of about $15 million. And that's been put on the backs of landowners there, and their rates have gone up exponentially over the last few years, and it's been quite a burden for a lot of people. So 3940 seeks to tax as a product called Zins. It's a nicotine product that currently doesn't have a tax on it like normal tobacco. And so it was kind of interesting. The folks that are behind those products were actually really all for being taxed. And especially in a situation like this where once they're taxed, they have some pretty solid footing that nobody's going to mess with that product because you get to rely on that product as a tax, and then nobody messes with it. You're on way better footing than if not. And it's kind of a funny little game that gets played down here, but that's kind of what's going on. Last thing I'm going to talk about, it's kind of the big budget item for this session, and transportation. I, as a former county commissioner, know the price of asphalt in the 8 years that I was there as county commissioner doubled. Equipment was more expensive, fuel was more expensive. You just keep naming them off. Labor, it's all more expensive. And so to provide the same services with the same dollars probably isn't reasonable. But are there services that we can cut? Yes, there are. Can we really focus in on what is transportation and what we identify as transportation, and maybe set aside some of those things that may seem a little more like luxury, like bike lanes and walking paths and some of those? Yes. Does the Abernathy Bridge got to be 300% over budget? You know, there's a lot of stuff out there that could be better than what it is. Yes. Do we need more money in transportation? Yeah, probably. I think there's little doubt about that. It would be wonderful to be able to go into ODOT and clean up every little portion of inefficiency. I want to tell you, it's very difficult to do. Even those people that are on the transportation committee, those people that are on Ways and Means, trying to get solid answers back as to where the money's getting spent is difficult and frustrating. My good friend Senator Lynn Finley, who he's not a current senator, he was wildly frustrated with that. He knew transportation inside and out, but couldn't get straight answers. So some of these agencies have within themselves kind of capsulized themselves, isolated themselves, and it is something that needs to be broke down. There's some frustration here, especially within the Republican side of things, that they would like to have staffing that just did just that, just dove into those agencies, break down piece by piece, see where all the money's going, and then be able to assist in those budgets to trim them up as much as possible. And I will agree, the last thing that we need to do is tax our citizens more. But everybody wants smooth road. Everybody wants less congestion. Nobody wants to pay for it. And the reality of what we can do with current funds, what we can do with a moderate amount of increase, it may be different than what we've looked at in the past. So hang on, we're right here at the final throes. Something has to break loose here between what has been offered up by the Republicans, what's been offered up by the Democrats, and what'll actually get voted on, if at all. Thank you, folks, for hanging in here with me. It's been a long, drawn out session, and it's about to come to a close. We will have some final wrap ups for you, and I look forward to getting home and seeing y'all. Bye.